Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, what it is? Oh, okay. I see you, man. I see you. Okay.
The
What's going on,
wardrobe
ladies?
change.
I feel you. Look, he pulled a Diana Ross on his win on a wardrobe change real quick. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? A happy Monday. Hope you guys enjoyed the weekend and welcome to this week's edition of This Week in UGA Football. It's an old habit. I can't break it. This week
I
in
know.
UGA Football. I am one half of the crew coming to you all the way from Oklahoma City, in the heart of the city. It is your boy, Mr. Fingaz, coming to you from Zagnif Central, and that guy over there, that guy right there, that handsome fella right there wearing the red hat and the black trunks with the matching black t-shirt. He is the sexy mother Hubbard, the brother from another, the ace of base in the place, in your face. It is my favorite part of the game. I don't have any trash that requires disposal today, so you do not get to see the trash can, no. Collin P from the DMV talking SEC on a Monday night with me. How you doing, bad boy?
Hey, I'm just doing fantastic. Great weekend of football. Kind of surprising weekend of football to say the very least. But I'm happy, man. Had a day off and had to be man with us and with me and whatever. And, so yeah, it was good. Had a great weekend. How about yourself, man?
Oh man, it was my anniversary this weekend, man. The missus and I celebrated. I started to say 100 years. Lord have mercy.
You look pretty good for 100 years.
I know, right? That would make me shoot. That. What in the world is going on over here? My phone decided to just start playing something random out of nowhere. Anyway, wife and I celebrated 11 years this past Friday. Went out, had a nice little dinner. And of course, on Saturday, I was the same place you were, glued in front of the TV for several hours because first I had to watch our game, then I had to watch Bama LSU. After that, I was tired. I got knocked out. That was it.
Yep. Same here, man. Same here.
So it was a great, great weekend, man. I have no complaint. Well, except for the part where my garage door tried to fall down in the middle of the night, and we had to get somebody to come out and look at it, and they couldn't. They had to come from Norman, which is about 30, 40 minutes, and got here at midnight, and he wound up not being able to get out of here till 3 o'clock in the morning because he did not have a helper with him.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I wound up having to help him get some stuff together. So your boy has learned more about garage doors in 3 hours than he's known in his entire life. There we go. Air horn for Mr. Fingaz, learning a few Tim the Two Man Taylor. Little Tim the Two Man Taylor things going on there. So look, ain't no sense in dilly dallying around, ladies and gentlemen. We do thank you guys for tuning in. If you're watching right now under the sound of our voice, watching the replay, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. If you're watching YouTube, go ahead and hit the little bell. If you're on the page of This Week in SEC page, go ahead and smash that join group button. And most of all, share it and let everybody know that we're out here. We are sponsored by Squid Rips Cards. We'll be talking about them a little bit later on, but let's just go ahead and get on into it, man. You know what happened Saturday. We know what happened Saturday. The whole world knows what happened Saturday. They were even talking about it on the radio this morning. They led in an Oklahoma-dominated sports market. They led off their 7 o'clock hour talking about this game right here. It was the one, Tennessee versus Georgia. A lot of jaw jacking going on back and forth. You all saw the show last week. We had Randy Jowers. Shout out to our guy Randy Jowers from SEC Super Conference that joined us last week to talk about his Volunteers. The highest powered offense in almost all of college football versus one of the strongest defenses and we saw what happened. So, Collin, I'm gonna come to you first, man. What you got, man? What was your takeaway from this?
Man, it was nobody gave us a chance again. It's kind of reminiscent of last year. It just since Tennessee, hey, no disrespect to Tennessee at all. I mean, they have actually turned it on for the amount of time that the coach has been there and turned it around. Hooker and Hyatt, those guys have been playing their lights out. But I mean, it was just like nobody gave us a chance. I mean, even on ESPN, I don't think anybody picked Georgia, and they never do. That's not a big surprise. But at the same point, they did exactly what we needed to do. And aside from a couple of miscues, maybe Edwards fumbled early in the game, maybe one or two passes from Stetson, but our defense was absolutely reminiscent of last year's defense. It's not as great as that defense, pretty doggone close. But Stetson was throwing ball. Stetson can't throw a ball 40 past 20 yards. No, he can't do it. He did it twice, and he's dropping dimes. So I mean, that's what we need to happen to the rest of the year, and SEC championship, and if we're lucky enough to make it to the national championship. So,
no doubt. I mean, that's been the biggest thing people said all year. But he can't throw the ball. But who has he? Wait a minute, we're gonna channel our boy. But who has he thrown the ball to? Woo. Yeah. I mean, he did it not once, but twice down the same side of the field. There was an in and out route. Ladd McConkey sold that route to death. Stop and go, in, back out, right down the side.
And he laid out and caught the ball. I mean, he just laid out and perfect catch, popped right up, and it's great to see that from Ladd. Ladd's been having tough go of it a little bit, but it's good to see him.
And we'll talk about him a little bit later on. I think that is he in the game ball category today? For this week's performance, maybe not, but definitely head and shoulders above where he's been for the last few weeks. Glad to see that whatever it was that he had going on with him, that he's worked on it, and it showed up in major fashion on Saturday. Because
absolutely, and we did what we both thought we needed to do: run the ball. I mean, we ran the ball with great success. We ran a couple times up the middle, but then we were doing the halfback counter a lot. Which I thought that was good for us to get around the corner. McIntosh and Edwards getting around the corner.
Yeah,
that helped out a lot. And man, the holes in the offensive line. I mean, there were several times a day. I mean, the blocks were insane. Like I mean, the cuts by the backs to give them that little piece of hole that they could squeeze through. Insane.
Well, we've already seen though that Deshaun is just different. I'm gonna call him Dijon. I don't want to go all the way out and call him Dijon because then that kind of pushes him over into Tennessee territory with the mustard thing.
Right.
But oh man, I put the mustard back up. I was gonna offer Randy a peace token, but I don't have it with me today. So, I mean he's other level with his cuts, and being a young back, that's something that he can do effectively.
Absolutely.
And it's insane. He's a step and a half, mid-step, plant foot, boom. There's no hesitation or anything about it. It's just going this way. Whoop, nope, going that way.
Yep. And we can't not talk about the first score of the game when Stetson outrun that guy. I mean, he just basically outran everybody, and he didn't run out of bounds. He dove for the pylon. And doing so, I mean, that should have been targeting all day long. I mean, it doesn't matter who you ask. It was helmet to helmet. He led with his helmet. So, I mean, that was an ear hole pops. I mean, that in my mind, I think, that was targeting. But anyway, he scored. So,
yeah. I think our guy Quavius had himself quite a good time on Saturday. He was, dude. The only thing he didn't do was the swag surf and the gritty. He did just about everything else.
Yeah.
I mean, he gave us. You saw the gift that I made with him going, "Are you not entertained?" There was that one. Then there was another one with him just walking down the street like the old school Popeyes cartoon. Like,
yeah,
he was
having fun, man. And honestly, I mean, you saw that haircut. It was like, oh, it's on now. I mean, he got his haircut, so yeah, you knew who was coming on the field. So
yeah,
not the guy of old.
Yeah, for those for the uninitiated, at the beginning of the season, Stetson Bennett showed up to training camp with a low haircut. Stet's got that curly hair, kind of looking like Corey from Boy Meets World.
I was gonna say, it kind of looks like Screech to me.
I wouldn't put him in the category with Screech, but you get what I'm saying. He had a head full of curly hair. Well, he showed up with a nice tight fade, and he came out of the gate balling. And not ironically, as the season wore on and his hair grew back, his performance kind of was the reverse of Samson, the story of Samson and Delilah in the Bible. But he showed up. He showed up and he was doing warm-ups and he had that fade. I texted Collin and said, "Oh snap, the fade is back." Collin just went, "Oh, it's about to be on now." So
it's about to get now.
So tell me about since this is something that you broke with me, tell us about the whole call me deal. Because right before the show started, we found out that Stetson Bennett got himself a little NIL deal out of the hijinks that took place this past Saturday.
Oh yeah, there's a website called Stetson's Trunk, and it's called Stetson's Trunk, and there's not a whole lot. There's basically just autographed pictures, but there is a couple of shirts, hoodies, and what have you. It's just black shirt. It's got him doing the call me. It's got the letters "call me" on it. It's got the him signed his signature. Doesn't have anything with Tennessee. Doesn't have a G on the helmet. So I think some of that stuff had to be not included. But it's just funny. It has him doing the "call me" sign or "call me," and then "call me" or "call me" sign. And the words. So it's pretty.
So where did that whole "call me" thing come from? Though is what I'm trying to find out.
Oh, you didn't hear that? Oh, so
no, I wanted you to explain that.
I apologize. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, no. So evidently somebody leaked his phone number to Tennessee fans. And he said that he got like 600 to 700 text messages or phone calls the night before the game, and he couldn't figure out how to get rid of them or stop them from coming in or whatever. He finally figured out, how to stop them, and so that's where that came from. Like the first touchdown he scored, he did the "call me." And that's what he was referencing to. So I don't know any more than that. It was just somebody leaked his phone number and they were just blowing him up all night before the game. So
that's just silly. That's just what good does that do? I mean, I get it's 2022 and smack talk has been elevated to a whole new level, but I mean, there's no way in the world.
I mean, you got an off button. I mean, and I think somebody actually asked him after the game about it, and he said that if it provided any motivation. He said motivation, nah. He said not really. He said it's just there was a little something there. He said that motivation. I don't need motivation. There was a little something there. Yeah, I can agree with a little something there, but other than that, nah.
100%. But he came out and he did what he needed to do.
Sure,
100%. Played a much cleaner game than we've seen him play in quite some time. So not mad at that at all.
No, it was a good complete game as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the defense did outstanding, and then
yes,
the offense.
We're gonna get. I tell you what. Put a pin in that. We're gonna come back to that right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna take a brief pause for the cause, and we're gonna do this early in the show. We normally do it a little bit later. We are going to clue you in. If you guys are enjoying this show, we are part of a larger family of podcasts called Let's Talk Football. College, pro, fantasy, does not matter. We cover it all. There's more than likely a show on every day of the week that will interest you. So why don't you stand back for a second and take a look at where you can see all of our shows. We will be right back. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. 7 days a week, just about. You can find the show from Let's Talk Football anywhere where you can get podcasts, Facebook and YouTube. Check out any one of them today. Matter of fact, go on over to YouTube and go over to Facebook and hit the Let's Talk Football fan group. And that is where everything is posted on a regular basis, night after night, night after night. And thank you for tuning in to This Week in UGA Football. I'm Mr. Fingaz. That's Collin P from the DMV on the internet talking UGA football with me. We were discussing the very convincing victory. Now, a lot of people said that it wasn't exceptionally convincing. You know, a lot of people like, oh, you only scored 27 points and it was only a 2-score game. And I mean, what do you have to say to that, man?
Well, I mean, regardless if it was in jest or not, I mean, they were throwing balls by 50. And you know, every other game they played, you know, they've scored 50 points. You know, they've actually scored a lot of points. But, I mean, for us to hold them to 13, you know, it's a testament to, you know, that, I mean, we're a pretty good team. I mean, like, I mean, what do you think about us being – I mean, I love us being 3. I don't have any problem with us being 3-2, you know. I mean, but it just shows that we were the number 1 team, you know,
Right.
above Tennessee and, you know, Ohio State. They just – I don't know what they did – and I don't know what the committee was thinking, to be honest with you. But, I mean, if this didn't solidify it, you know, I don't know what could.
Well, to be completely honest, I'm right along with you, man. I don't really care about where we are as long as we're in the running enough to be within striking distance.
Right.
You
But
know
let's
what
be
I mean?
honest. I mean, like Tennessee was in – I mean, had we had lost this game, you know, I don't know if we'd have had a way to get in. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because we were number. I mean, you know, they put Tennessee 1, you know, and then Ohio State 2, and then us 3. If we'd have lost, we'd have been out of the top 4. You know,
Yeah, but then how far do you fall? I think we probably would have fell to number 4, and I tell you why. Because you're still the reigning national champions. At this point, you've rattled off 18 regular season games without a loss, and your one loss is to the team who's ranked number 1 in the country. So at absolute worst, if not 4, we would have been at 5.
Yeah.
Just my 2 cents. Now there's a whole lot of speculating going on right now. It's like, well, you know, all Tennessee has to do is win out, and then, you know, if Georgia wins and Georgia beats LSU, then you know that eliminates LSU. But then it'll be Georgia, and then the winner of Ohio State, Michigan will get in, and that'll be Georgia, and the winner of that, Georgia, and the Big Ten winner. And you know, TCU, they might get in, they might not. Like what?
Right.
How much? What kind of? How are you feeling about the speculation that's just kind of running rampant as of late? Like there's so many fans right now that are trying to, in their brain, figure out a way to MacGyver Tennessee into the playoff scenario.
Well, I mean, I get it. I mean, you're a fan. You want to get into the playoff, and you're trying to figure out what you. I mean, there's a whole lot of what about it. I mean, like, it doesn't do you any good to try to figure it out. But I mean, it's not gonna. I mean, what's gonna happen is gonna happen. You know what I mean? And it's just to kind of figure it out. I mean, I don't know. And even if you do think you know what's gonna happen, I mean, this first CFP ranking shows you don't know. You have no idea what they're thinking. You know, they're gonna put them in where they want to put them. So
yeah. Matter of fact, wasn't the trivia question? Wasn't Tennessee the first team to be ranked the first team to be ranked number 1 and fall out of the rankings the next week?
I don't know.
It was the Aflac trivia question. Like what team was what team was ranked number 1 when the rankings first came out and fell out of the number 1 spot the immediate next week? And I think that also covered CFP and BCS.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the CFP putting them in that position. I mean, they put them in number 1. You know, I mean, that's the thing with me though. It's like you look at Alabama and you look at look at the 2 wins that Tennessee had. I mean, they were great wins. Don't get me wrong. They beat Alabama. You know, great win. You know, 1 point, was it 1 point or something like that? Whatever.
3
I mean,
points.
it was
it was a walk-off field goal. Yeah.
And then Pitt, you know, they had some close games. You know, and we haven't really had any close games. I mean, except for the Missouri game, I guess you'd call it close. I mean, we came from behind, but then I guess how much weight do you think they put on the Kent State and the Missouri game? and the what was the other
Well,
game before?
me being me and not really caring about being number one. Like I said, I don't care. As long as you can stay
Yeah,
in the top four, as long as at the end of the regular season, you are in the top four and you are playing for a conference championship, that is the only thing that matters to me. I don't care
yeah,
we could be ranked number 12. We could be undefeated and ranked number 12 at
yeah,
week 7. If we get to the end of the season, week 12 or week 13 or whatever it is, and we are
right,
ranked 1 through 4, one of them, and we are going to the conference championship, and we have a record that is good enough, either no losses or one loss, to get
right.
into the CFP. That's all I care about. I don't care where they ranked us. They were like Georgia. I was like, Georgia's going to be in the top 4 somewhere, and they put us at 3. I was like, okay, cool, we're good. We
Right,
are
and I'm in the same
at,
point you were.
at this
I
point.
was absolutely in the same point you were. I was not mad. We've had this, me, you and I have had this conversation several times. Long as, I mean, I don't want to be one. You know, if in a perfect world, I wouldn't want that drama. I wouldn't want that kind of under the microscope constant
Right.
coverage and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Which, I mean, we don't get love anyway. I mean, that was proven this weekend. So I mean, everybody picked Tennessee except for Luke Bryan. So evidently he's got he's smarter than the rest of the analysts up there. So
Yeah. Well, here's my thing. The resume speaks for itself. Period. You have the
yeah,
returning national champions who so far so far do not have a blemish on their regular
right.
season record this season. And throw whatever you want at it, they come out on the other side unscathed.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all I can
Yeah.
do. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Even if Georgia came through and was beating people by 35, and they beat everybody by 35 points or more a game, and the
Mm-hmm.
competition at the top was just so hot that they just couldn't even squeak in, that they came in undefeated at number 5.
Right.
What can you do? What can, I mean, honestly, what can you do?
Yeah. No, I mean
But
that would be a lot more. I mean, a lot more understandable. Is what I mean.
but
You know what I'm
I
saying?
I said all of that to say that the reality of the situation is, man, to be completely honest, I don't care about it. The only time I care about being number one, and I'm going to state this again for anybody who thinks that, at least from my standpoint, and some of y'all think I'm crazy. The only time I personally care about being number one is when the regular season is over, when the college football playoffs are over, and the college national championship has been played. If we are ranked number
Absolutely.
one at that point and we have that trophy, yep, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, I
I'm
agree with you
good.
totally. I mean, it's unneeded chatter, as far and all that other kind of stuff. What happened with Tennessee doing all the math and all the algebra and arithmetic and all that kind of stuff, trying to figure a way to get in. And then honestly,
Yeah,
you
it's
have no
like
idea what these guys are thinking. I mean, you could think all day long. I mean, look at how many times it's happened to us. I mean, with Notre Dame going in, over us, which we had more losses. We had a 2-loss team, but
was that the year that we wound up playing in the Peach Bowl against Texas?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe that's right.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? You can't really. What are you gonna do?
That's
You
when
can't really.
Clemson won. I mean, honestly, Clemson was not going to. I mean, I made a point to a buddy of mine. I said, y'all are not going to practice for Notre Dame because whoever plays Notre Dame that year, anybody who played Notre Dame that year was going to win. And
Right.
you had Clemson. All they had to do. I mean, they practiced. I mean, they played Notre Dame the first, and then they had to play Alabama. And then I knew they were going to beat Alabama because they had an extra week. I mean, really. I mean, I'm being honest. They didn't have to practice for Notre Dame. I mean, I think they had a subpar year that year. I mean,
Side note, since you brought up Notre Dame takes down Clemson.
right?
What?
Yeah.
I didn't I don't because my total focus on Saturday was Tennessee at Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
Alabama at LSU. There's the only 2 games I said I'm marking off on these 2 games. I was kind of keeping an eye on other stuff going on, especially
Right.
local Oklahoma stuff, OSU and Oklahoma, who unfortunately, man, I feel so bad for Oklahoma and OSU. This was
Oh,
on to launch off the 7 o'clock hour this morning on local sports radio. They came back from a break and said, "Thank you guys for tuning in. Special announcement: it is officially basketball season in Oklahoma." Like
so I
3.
guess over.
Yeah, because I don't think
What are you gonna talk about?
I don't think any of their teams. I don't think any of their teams are going to get to a bowl game. Not at this point.
I don't think so either. I mean, I mean, look at those. I mean, I don't know if you want to get into it, but I'm saying that there's a whole bunch of holy crap games on Saturday. You know, what I mean, look at Arkansas getting beat by Liberty. You know, it's
Right.
But
my only question is, which one of them was it that beat up Arkansas? Was it Limu Emu or was it Doug? That's all I want to know.
Right.
Liberty,
Right.
Liberty, and Doug. Nate says Alabama is not a serious football team right now. I think, Nate, I beg to differ. I still think, despite the fallbacks, as it were, that they have been experiencing this season, that Alabama is still in the top 1% of the teams in this nation. I would say in the top 1 to 2% of the 134 D1 teams in the nation right now. And that's based on that's partially based on track record, but that's also based on the fact that here we are with 3 weeks left in the season, and they've got a loss to a team that was rightfully so ranked number 1 with the start of the CFP rankings. So, and now a surging. I'm not taking anything away from LSU. LSU played hard. LSU did. I mean, the defense did. The defense was everywhere, and the defense was everywhere and anywhere all at once. The offense played a solid game. They didn't make a whole lot of mistakes, which is something that you can't give to Alabama. Even a bad Alabama team will take advantage of things like that. So, I mean, they got 2 losses, and their 2 losses are in conference. They haven't. Yeah. So I'm still not mad at them.
No, I mean in all actuality, they were due, right? I mean, like you can't just keep going and going and going and going. I mean, you can't take anything away from Alabama. It's just they're not as good as they haven't been in years past. I mean, they kind of hit a little bit of a speed bump. I mean, make no mistake though, they're Alabama. I mean, they've got the players to win. I mean, like you said, they lost to LSU in Death Valley, which is one of the toughest places to play in, and they lost by 1 on a gutsy call by Brian Kelly. I mean, he went for 2. I mean, they could have easily lost that game.
Brian Kelly. You can't tell me Brian Kelly's not walking around with carrying him in a wheelbarrow today, bro.
Absolutely. I mean, that was huge. I mean, I was watching that game. I looked at his face. I said, "This Joker's gonna go for it right here." I said, "He ain't even gonna think about it. He's gonna go for it right now." And I'm done if he didn't. But and the Texas game, look at the 2 losses. I mean, they didn't lose to Texas, but I mean, they could have very well lost. I mean, they could have very well been a 3-loss team this year. But at the same point, they're not Alabama of old. I mean, I mean, maybe there's some truth to what Saban said about them being in the rebuilding, quote unquote rebuilding, per se. But I mean, they're not the Alabama that we're accustomed to. I mean, but like I said though, you can't win forever. I mean, like they've been at the top forever. There
is no team that exists right now that has been winning since their existence. Everybody's had a run. Remember John Wooden at UCLA with basketball? That didn't last forever. Pops at San Antonio with basketball. Eventually that died out. Mike Tomlin with the Steelers. First losing season. They're on track to their first losing season in a long, long time. I don't think they've had a losing. I don't think they have a losing season forever. You understand what I'm saying? At some point, all dynasties do tend to come to an end. It's when it comes to sports, and that's just it is what it is. We look at these teams now that people go, what happened to them? Nebraska and the Oklahomas and the Colorados and all of these BYU. Believe it or not, those of you that are too young to remember, there was a time when BYU was the baddest big boy on the block. Yep. They were the baddest big boy on the block, and I mean everybody. Yes, even the teams in the SEC, they smacked them upside the head too. So it happens.
Well, I mean, and that unfortunately goes to like all the fans, the fans teams like this. I mean, they're used to winning, so therefore, and when they do lose, it's just the sky's falling. It's just like, we suck. We're never going to be back. Which is not the case. I mean, they're still a great program, a great football team. I mean, they just had a subpar year. I mean, like, when was the last time they had 2 losses, much less 1? You know, I mean, like, you know, I guess they had one loss a couple of times, but I mean, at the same point, they've always been in the CFP. They've always been in the Final Four or playing for the national championship. I mean, how can you be mad at that? I mean, even being a fan, you know, I mean, so you had a bad year, big whoop, you know, there's next year.
Yeah, 100%. Well, listen, let's swing this back around and wrap up this Georgia Tennessee game here. Let's talk about we're gonna eliminate the ugly because I didn't really see a lot ugly. Well, actually, I did. We'll leave that in there. But first off, we're gonna start off with the good, and I'm gonna go here with this one: the defense. That defense on Saturday, 6 sacks. That defense reminded me very much of a defense from last year.
Yes, sir.
And they didn't even have all of their pieces. You got Nolan out. But you got Jalen back in. It 6 sacks ridiculous. Every time you looked around, Jalen was in that backfield, man.
Oh
He
yeah,
was doing work. He
absolutely.
was doing work. That defense was ridiculous. I mean, the pass breakups you and I talked about before the show, that interception that Keely Ringo caught that looked like it was intended for Hendon Hooker to throw it to him. He just looked
I
up
was,
and went, "I'll take that, thank you." So
bro, and I was telling Anthony, I was like, I was talking to my boy, and I wasn't even watching TV, and then I saw the pass, and I saw Kelly catch it. Like, I mean, I laid out, and it was like it was thrown to him, and I didn't realize that Tennessee had the ball, and I was like, oh my god, I was like, is he on the other side of the ball now? So that's how good that pass was. But good, I'm sorry.
yeah, 100%, 100%. So what did you have for the good there, sir?
I mean, and to your point, your boy Malachi Starks. I mean, he had 6 solo tackles, 10 total tackles. Had one pass defended, one pass defended. But yeah, I mean, Jalen played his. I mean, I think played one of his best games ever. Like, I mean, he did exactly what we needed him to do. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
we were missing him so bad. You know, since he been hurt. You know, and he came in and he actually, you know, I think he was kind of the catalyst to the defense because I mean, people bodies were flying, and it was like, you know, and we did the correct thing. We were playing man, and you know, we had everybody covered and smothered. So I mean, you
Like
know,
a
Hooker
very delicious, like a delicious batch of Waffle House hash browns.
or Denny's Dagwood, baby. But yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah, it just showed me any questions that I have for our secondary. I actually put them kind of not to sleep, not to rest, but I mean, kind of settled my concerns about our secondary because I mean they played well. They played very well.
Very, very well. So that leads us to next. That's just going to move this on a little bit. We're going to talk about. Wait a minute, but before we get to that, right there, just to put a cap on what we've been talking about the defense for frame of reference, which has become one of my favorite key phrases here on This Week in UGA Football. I think that one I'm going to smack with an air horn real quick. Hendon Hooker, absolutely on fire all season. Did not have a single game in which he passed for less than 100 yards until this past Saturday.
Yeah.
Not a single game. Even in his game where he threw 3 interceptions against Pitt and 3 against Florida, and he had a couple of 1 interception games. I'm sorry, those are sacks. Where's the interceptions? I'm sorry. Those are sacks. That's how many times he's been sacked. My bad. Reading is fundamental. Okay, so he's only thrown 2 interceptions all season, and he got one against us. The other one he threw against Alabama. But
Right.
point remains, he did not have a single game all season in which he had less than 200 yards passing. And he was right up underneath it at 195, but let's be real. A lot of those passing yards came late in the game, and they were garbage time. Not to take anything away from his accomplishments, but
Sure.
those were garbage time pass yards at this point. It was like we're trying to play catch up as much as possible, and
Yeah.
because you're down by 3 scores, you got to score. So they finally did get a march downfield and score.
Right.
And he's never been sacked as many times as he's been sacked. I mean, he's been sacked 18 times all season. Georgia accounted for a third of those in one game.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Every time I look up, I mean, he'd be in a hurry or be on his behind, which is what we said that we needed to do. You know what I'm saying? We needed that line to get through there, and they did, and we had the coverage that we needed. But yeah. But and our what was our guest from Tennessee?
Yeah, Randy.
Randy, and he was true to what he said. He said that Hooker had three, the three receivers. Yeah, right. He had Tillman, Hyatt, and McCoy, and he did spread them out. Hooker did spread it out. I mean, Tillman had seven receptions for 68 yards, and Hyatt had 6 for 63, and then McCoy had 6 for 38. So I mean, he tried to spread the ball out, but evidently we kind of covered them up enough where they could get the ball far enough when they called it. So I mean, they had no yards after catch. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, just literally either running them out of bounds or hitting them where they stand. So let's move on to the bad. I didn't really see a whole lot bad. I saw a couple of small penalties that probably could have been avoided. But fortunately, in most of those on defense, but fortunately able to kind of recover from those. And the other thing is we still have at least one fumble per game. Now, fortunately, so far, it hasn't cost us a game. But we gotta get that fumbling under control. Somebody always fumbles every game. And this was early in the game, and I immediately took to social media and went, "It is too early for this."
I know. I saw you post that. I was like, man. But then it was, I thought Stetson had it, then it kind of squirted out again, and then that guy kind of made me a little bit mad when he grabbed Stetson, kind of pulled him off his guy, and I was like, all right now. And the play wasn't over yet. But yeah, you're right, absolutely. And that we talked about that, the turnover. But I mean, if that's the only one we have, I'm not mad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but sometimes you could play an entirely perfect game and be going toe to toe, and that turnover be the thing that killed the whole that make the souffle fall. You know what I mean?
Yeah, wasn't that same drive? Like I think Stetson tried to throw over the middle and hit that guy hit the Tennessee player right in the chest. He should have called it.
And he dropped it. Yep.
He dropped it. Yeah, same drive, I think.
Yeah. So that is it. We don't have a whole lot ugly about the game. Kirby, oh my God, love Kirby Smart. I love our coach. Old Kirby is back. Did you see him on the sidelines with his tongue out and then he did after he did the post game interview where he grabbed old girl and just brought her in like a bear hug, like in a bro hug. Like he hit her with like the old boy, like, yo, bro, bow. And this,
what I think? I think maybe the Florida game kind of gets him a little bit nervous until that game is actually over. I'm just strictly speculation here. I mean, just because you saw him, before that game, he wasn't really. I mean, I guess he was Kirby, but he wasn't Kirby. There was something off. So I'm just wondering if that Florida game is always kind of sticking to crawl, like something like he's worried about till it's over with, and he's all kind of like subdued and that kind of stuff. Settle down, but I don't know. That's strictly speculation. But he liked his normal self. You said it.
Yeah, definitely seemed like his normal. His normal. Let's go out there and play football and have fun self. So yeah, definitely. So that was our good, our bad, and our ugly, ladies and gentlemen. So next up, we are going to get into our next segment. It's going to be pretty brief, and it is for the players of the game. So I'm gonna let you go first. So who you got for this week's player of the game? You can have more than one because these guys were all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, I've got obviously you got to go with Stetson because Stetson played like Staquavius today. In that game, that first score. I mean, it just showed you something. That first score, like he outran that. I mean, he avoided the tackle, and he wasn't even trying to go out of bounds. I mean, he was going straight for the pylon, and then he go for it. I mean, that was him being my number one player of the game. And number two, I would say the whole defense. I mean, like the whole defense actually showed their behind and did exactly what they needed to do. What everybody knew they could do. And number three, I mean, I would say Ringo, man, because that catch. I mean, that catch he made, that interception. I mean, it looked like he could definitely be a receiver, no doubt in my mind. So I mean, it definitely threw me for got me confused. But yeah, I would go to defense. I would go Stetson. I would go Ringo.
Yeah, I am going to stay on the defensive side of the ball. Actually, I take that back. I'm gonna go on the offensive side of the ball. We're gonna go with our guy, 6'7", 278 pounds. Big O.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because Big O is not like he hasn't been overly dominant with the ball, but what he has done is 90% of the time when you see a big hole being opened up out out in the flat, when you
Yeah,
see a block being thrown downfield when somebody's running down there, it's either him or it's Brock. Let's not forget,
right.
just because these guys can catch, let's not forget tight ends were really brought in as guys who were who served as down linemen first, as down linemen for blockers, and
Yeah.
then pass catchers second. It's only been in the
That
last
is their
what
job. Yeah, that is absolutely their job. Absolutely, you're right. Yep.
and he's down there throwing blocks and pancaking people and all of that. So he's definitely my player of the game. Big O, Darnell Washington. I'm glad to see him out there doing his thing. Would love to
Yes, sir.
see. God, I wish Eric Gilbert would have worked out, but I'm still glad to see that we've got a solid receiving core. And man,
How about Arius Smith? How about that catch?
yes, sir. Yes,
Now that
sir.
that was
Yes, sir.
reminiscent. That was reminiscent of a little bit of Pickens action, wasn't it? I mean, that was a pro catch. He laid out, grabbed it, boom, popped
Very
up.
much so.
Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so. So before we move into our next segment, I want to kind of backtrack a little bit. And oops, that's not where we're trying to go. We're trying to go to the chat. Nate, our guy, shout out to our guy, Nathan Snell, host of Big Nate Sports Talk. Bring your sports game with Big Nate Sports Talk. Through this comment out here, so can we talk about some of the fights that occurred over the weekend? I really didn't see any. I don't know if he's talking about in the crowd, or if he's talking about amongst the players. I do think that as the
I do
generations
know.
are
I'm sorry to cut you off. I do
no,
know
go ahead.
that. I do know that some of the LSU, some of the Alabama staff couldn't get off the field at LSU. I did hear that because of the fans rushing the field and that kind of stuff. So I mean, I don't know if there's any fights or maybe he's talking about that.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of any other fights or anything.
I honestly, I just think the fight. I think the fighting thing is getting to be a bit too much. I mean, you got fans. I mean, every week there's a video of some fans fighting, whether it's in the stands, in the parking lot, and now it's at the point where you got players fighting. See last week's incident, week before last incident, for reference, the in-state rivalry against the Wolverines and the Spartans. I think it's running a little bit too rampant. I think it's about time for the NCAA and the schools to start stepping up and having a greater say in that. Like, hey, look, son, I don't care if he did hit you. You are a representative of the school. And, if this is what you're going to do, then this is the consequences you will face. So I don't really know.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying I didn't really see any fights this weekend, so I didn't have anything to speak to. I didn't have anything to speak to.
Me either, but I was just talking about. Sorry, I was just talking about the rushing the field was getting out of hand. I mean, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Sorry,
100%. So, we're gonna move on into our next segment, and this show is going to be a little briefer than normal, which is absolutely fine. It's been a long, busy weekend, so we can give you back, as they say in the corporate world, when you have an hour-long meeting schedule and you get done you get done early. They say, "I'll give you back 15 minutes of your day." It's like, and I'm just gonna give it right back. That would be different if I could go home.
Right. Yeah, I would enjoy that because they could take your behind home with 15 minutes early, but you don't say that. Take your butt to your desk.
Right. Right, 100%. They're like, "I'll give you back 15 minutes of your day, and you're at your desk like this."
What?
Hey, what world are you living in? All right, we're gonna give a little shout out to our sponsor, our guy Sid Swinton, part of the Let's Talk Football family, and his venture with Squid Ribs Cars. We'll be right back after this. And that was our guy Sid Swinton with Squid Rips Cards, ladies and gentlemen. You can find him on TikTok. He's on several times a week. Gets in new sets every week. Does some pulls. You like football cards? He's the guy you need to see. And that brings us to what does that bring us to?
We're gonna give you 15 minutes of your time. Hey, uh-oh.
Excuse me while I regroup. There we go. And we are back. That brings us to our next segment, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into 2-minute warning, I didn't, you know what it is? I didn't put the ticker up, so I had the banner up so I could put it out. But we are playing Mississippi State. That's our next opponent coming up. What do you got, Collin? How do you think this is gonna shake out? We know that Mississippi State, we basically know that they are going to throw the ball about 100 times on Saturday. So
I mean, we're
how do you see that panning out with Will Rogers out there taking on essentially, which is one of the team that's has one of the best secondaries in college football?
Yeah, I mean, it's like we're picked again. I mean, like I don't necessarily agree with the line on this. We're getting 16 and a half with an 84 chance of winning. But at the same point, I hope this is a dangerous thing in my mind that you come off a game like this where you actually had a pretty good, solid game on both sides of the ball with limited or very few errors. Then we're going to come back and kind of be like status quo and kind of be like complacent, that kind of stuff. I just worry that it's going to come at these types of teams like Mista. And now, let's get it straight. Mista State is not that bad a team. I mean, they could most certainly come back and beat us. Like you said, Will Rogers, he's a great quarterback, and he can burn you if our secondary is not ready for him. But I just I hope we keep the same energy and the same fire that we had this against Tennessee against this one.
Well, here's another pattern that I noticed. If you keep Will Rogers to under 200 yards passing so far this season, he will lose.
Under
200 or under,
we will lose. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's I got that. I don't have it up. I did look that up before the game just to see, if you can keep him in that range. Because once he starts to get up in the 300, 400 range, I mean, you slinging the ball around that much, you're bound to get some catches. You're bound to wear out the secondary, and you'll be able to make some hits downfield. So the big thing is that we're gonna need the junkyard dogs to get in that backfield again and get in his face.
And another thing, I did catch some of Kirby's press conference, and they did ask him about Mississippi State, and he did equate them to like the Tennessee. He said that their defense and their schemes are kind of, they mirror Tennessee a little bit, but they change things. He said so. Then you got to be on the ball and figuring out where their changes are, like what kind of differences do they have. But they essentially run the same kind of schemes. I mean, not the same, but similar. But I mean they change things constantly. But you got to be ready for those different audible type situations.
I'm with you there 100%. I think as long as the guys can, if they can do to, and Tennessee has a good offensive line. If they can do that to Tennessee, I'm sure that they're going to give Will Rogers everything that he's looking for and then some. So yeah. I'm
not to bring it back to Tennessee, but I mean there was two passes that Hooker made that he overshot that it probably might have been a different game had they been caught. But I mean.
100. Yeah, I'm not even gonna fake the funk on that because there was a couple of them. And I'm like that, and the receivers had the cover man
they were open
by a couple steps, wide open.
Yep,
he just overshot him. So so junkyard dogs, we need you. I'm asking you again one more time to hunker down, in the words of the late great Larry Munson. I think I don't know. I think I see we win this one. I think we win this one kind of pulling away. I think I'm going to put this one out here. I think we see Carson back this coming Saturday. If that tells you
anything. We'll be up high enough. We'll be up enough that we'll get back in there. What you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. Because normally if we're up by 3.5 scores, Kirby will put Carson back in and let him get some reps. Yeah. So I mean,
I
who
wouldn't
knows?
be mad at that.
Who knows? The defense may make such quick work of it that Carson Beck will come in and play a whole. I think it was winning the game a couple weeks ago. He played a whole quarter. Was it against
Yeah.
Vandy?
Well, we're now in the point we need to be careful about injuries. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I mean, that would be smart. In my
Right,
opinion, to get some of
right.
those starters out of where we have that kind
That-
of cushion. I mean, we're getting to the point now that we can't afford injuries. So
Yeah, because you got 3 games left. You got Mississippi State, you got Kentucky, and we're playing at Heinz Field that week. We're traveling there,
mhm,
and then we got Georgia Tech back at home. So play it smart, play to win the game, but play it smart and not get hurt. So that's where we are
exactly.
there. So I'm saying I'm going to go ahead and make that. I think we see Carson back this weekend. I'm
I hear
almost
that.
100% sure we see Carson back in the Tech game. I'm not even going to lie.
Yeah, probably even start the game.
Maybe. There's no telling. There's no telling.
But I mean, I'm not mad at it at all. I mean, he needs time because I mean he's going to be the boy. He's going to be our guy next year. I mean, I would
Yeah.
think so. I mean, unless we got somebody else. But I mean, I would, give him some time against teams that
Well, I heard good things about Gunner, and it would be a shame if Coach kept Carson so long and didn't at least give him a shot. So we'll see. We shall
Yeah.
see. The spring game will tell all. But that brings us, ladies and gentlemen, to our final segment of the evening, what we like to call the 2-minute warning. So, yes, ladies and gentlemen, our 2-minute warning is our final segment of the show in which Collin and I share little snippets of things to take with you during the week, whether it's funny, whether it's inspirational, whether it might be a little sad, it might tug at your heartstrings. And Collin, I'm going to let you go first, sir.
Man, I don't have a whole lot here. Actually, I mean, it kind of today it was around 70 degrees or something like that. And it's crazy to me how the weather can just change its mind on a dime like that. Because I mean, like here, Anthony, you lived out here, so I mean, it could be 40 degrees in the morning, and then be 65, 70 in the afternoon. And but what I'm saying is, like, even though it is like the tail end of fall, winter's approaching, get outside and do things. Get outside and enjoy the weather while you got it. I mean, like, I'm not saying go outside when it's like 40 or 45, and freeze your behind off. But I mean, get outside and enjoy the sunshine while it's still around. I mean, like I said, I'm a fall guy. I love fall. I love it. A little breeze coming through. It's beautiful. But yeah, that's about all I got. I mean, it just, I know winter is coming up and everybody's getting, sometimes it's doom and gloom. People get depressed and that kind of stuff, and it's overcast. That's how winters typically are. So go ahead and take advantage of what you got. The good weather while you have it. You know what I'm saying? It's just odd to me that it could be 40 degrees and 70 degrees. But get out there and enjoy it while you got it.
Yes, well said. Well said. Thank you, sir. My 2-minute warning is going to be I'm going to keep it sports related. First of all, I would like to thank Randy Jowers, who is a University of Tennessee fan, decided at Not Robbery to join us last week, come on and talk about the game that at that point was upcoming, that was building up to Georgia versus Tennessee at Sanford Stadium. We know how the game ended. We know how Tennessee looked in the game. We know how Georgia looked in the game. He just took a couple minutes to send a shout out in the group chat and say, want to send a shout out to our dog admins. I forget what the other guy's name is. Dog D, that's his name in the chat. I don't know what his real name is. The Dog D and Anthony for their win, their dogs winning the game. I need more of that.
Yeah, right.
That right there. I need more of that. Can we have more of that? It's okay to talk a little smack here and there. It's okay to, it's okay to have a little smack talk. That's all well and good. That's fun. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, when the game is over, at least learn to be able to look the guy over, that you look over at the guy who you were competing against, reach out, shake their hand and say, good game. Hey, good
Yeah,
game. Hey, good game. Hey, your team did what they were supposed to do. I've seen
right.
so many people yelling on 2 particular teams in this conference that lost this weekend, that are yelling sour grapes, that are yelling that the refs cheated us, that are yelling that, oh, such and such happened. Like, they can't even just say, hey, look, you were the better team today. I'm not I would say this let me make sure I put something out there. I would say this if this was any team, not just my dogs, just learn to look over to the other person and go, your team was a better team today. You guys were better than us today. Not the refs cheated and the weather was bad and the sun was in the quarterback's eye all night and his eye was swollen because the one dude hit him with the targeting call that the refs didn't call because they hate us. Like, ain't nobody hating on you. The ones that really kill me are the people that are fans of the teams that are like 1-9 or 2-8. And like the refs hate us. And well, apparently your players hate practicing too, but we ain't gonna talk about that. That's a discussion you're not ready for. Learn how to look the guy. That was pretty good. I like that.
That was very good.
Learn how to be able to look at the person that you've been hanging out with all night, watching the game, or the person that you have been striving and toiling against on the athletic field of battle. Look them in the eye, shake their hand, and say, "You guys got it. You were the better team today."
And you
Because
know what's crazy? I'm sorry. You know what's crazy is like you and I played probably little league sports and that kind of stuff. That's how it used to be. Even in high school, I mean, you would chirp a little bit, but I mean, you'd always go to the middle of the field and shake hands and that kind of stuff. That stuff really, I mean, sometimes don't even happen in professional sports or college sports. I mean, some do. They go and say, "What's up?" You know, good day, da da da. I mean, there's so much
dude,
animosity and so much. You know, it's just crazy.
It's worse in professional sports. I mean, we've seen some big name, big dollar players. We won't call any names, but one of them should have retired last year and stayed retired. But we won't talk about that. No, let me be careful. Let me back up because I don't want to make nobody mad. I'm serious. But we've seen players that have just when they lose, they would just get their stuff, walk off the field, won't shake any hands, come to the press conference and act all sullen and the world is over in the whole 9 yards instead of being able to look the guy across and say, "Hey, I really wanted to win this, but y'all got it. Y'all were the better team today. Best of luck."
See, that's what Randy said when he was on the show, which is very refreshing because I mean we were kind of the same way. You know, this is what needs to happen for us to win. You know, I mean whoever wins wins, but at the end of the day, this is what we need to do to win. If we don't get this done, then obviously I don't think we're going to win. But I mean it was cordial both ways, which it needs to be. I mean, there's no reason for it not to be. You know what I'm saying? It's and I would like to express my appreciation for him to be on the show too. I appreciate it, and I'll try to jump on. I'll try to jump on tomorrow, or not tomorrow night, Wednesday night on the what is it the call there?
The power hour, and that's getting ready to go away because Facebook is doing away with audio rooms, so we're gonna figure something else out. But so shout out to our guy Randy Jowers. Randy, we appreciate you, big dog. Hey, best of luck. Best of luck to your Vols in the remainder of the season. I honestly can still see them running the rest of the table. I've taken a look ahead to see how things are going to go. I got to be honest, though. I don't see LSU dropping any games. They got UAB and two other teams I can't even remember, but I don't see them dropping any one of those three. But I do still see Tennessee running the table. So best of luck to you guys, Randy. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, having said that, that brings us to the end of our program. We want to thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of This Week in UGA Football. Please make sure to like the video if you're watching it right now. Subscribe to the channel if you're watching it right now. Share the video if you haven't done so already. Hey, you want to see a cool show about the University of Georgia? Here go these two guys right here. And this though, they talk and get along so well. You swear they know each other for a long time. We kind of sort of do. Just disclaimer, we kind of sort of do. But thank you all for watching. We appreciate you. So, Collin, what you got on the burner this week? You think we're gonna make another appearance if we can wrangle up somebody from Mississippi State to come on?
I don't know, man. I mean, I hope so. I mean, I'd love to have another guest on here from Mississippi State before the game. I don't know of anyone offhand, but I do have to work this weekend. So, I mean, what time's the game? Is it a night game?
6 o'clock, 6:30. And that's here, so it's a primetime game where you are. It's like a 7-something kick.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm happy that we finally got one at night, but I'm not very happy.
Doesn't it just figure all the games we've had this season, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, the primetime game we get is playing Mississippi State. I guess when they made the schedule, they figured that Mississippi State would have at least 6 or 7 wins. Well, actually, they do. They're 6-2, I think.
Yeah.
So let me not misspeak. I guess they would have thought they were going to be more of a juggernaut than they actually would be. But
A couple of teams
yeah.
like that. A couple of teams, things that they would talk before they open. I mean, open their mouth before they thought about it. But yeah, that's about it. I got to work Saturday, but I mean, I'll be definitely watching the game. But got nothing really planned, man. What about yourself?
Yeah. I don't have any plans either. I mean, we kind of shot the wad last week with the anniversary, and that was really nice.
Yeah,
And
and by the way, if I hadn't told you, I think I told you happy anniversary, but happy
yeah,
belated.
thank you, sir.
Tell
Thank you,
mom,
sir.
tell mom the same,
On,
please.
on behalf of myself and the missus, thank you very much. Mrs. and I celebrated 11 years married this past Friday, y'all. There we go. I had to hit the horn twice on that one. Went out, had a really, really nice dinner, and then we came
I
home
saw
and
the pictures.
like the two middle-aged people that we are, we came home and we said, "Whew, that was a nice dinner," and that was it.
In by
So
8:30.
yeah, grand opening, grand closing. So we appreciate you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us today for this week in UGA football. On behalf of myself, my co-host Collin P from the DMV. We will be back next Monday. We'll keep you posted if we want to popping up again at some point this week. Until then, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we are OUWT out. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.